All right. So Mrs. Mara said you know about how to get a product into clinical trials and like FDA approval, that process. So I guess we kind of want to talk about that a little bit.
Sure, and I'll respond first by saying what you're describing here is a device rather than a drug, and there are different regulatory processes for those two types of products. My familiarity is mostly with drugs, and the devices I have less familiarity with, but there are guidance documents that the FDA puts out that describe the general approaches to developing any type of a product, whether it's a biomedical device or a pharmaceutical or the different types of products that are out there, a food ingredient. So if you haven't already done so, it's probably worth spending a little bit of time just going through the FDA's website.
Okay.
And what I think you should do is there will be guidance documents relative to devices. So you may have to navigate the website a bit in order to find out where those are. But in general terms, I can do my best to address any questions that you have.
All right. So.
Hey, before we get into things, maybe you guys could introduce yourselves, because I don't know who's who.
Okay. I'm Alex, the person in the pink.
All right. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Christian.
Yep.
Okay. Alex, Matthew, and Christian. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, I guess we just need to research the FDA documents they have on devices. Is there like a time frame that I guess is like recommended for doing this, or how long it would usually take to approve a device?
Good question. I don't know the answer once you've submitted the regulatory documents that would support registration. I don't know how fast the FDA responds to them. I suspect, and again, I just don't know this area as well as I know the pharmaceuticals. I suspect that there are a series of decision-making points that the FDA would follow. The first would be some type of a submission on the part of the sponsor that tells the FDA, the general background of the product or the product concept, and also would describe then your approach to validating that it works. And if this followed a process that's similar to pharmaceuticals, the way that you would do that is to explore the use of the device in a small set of either patients or volunteers first, before you would take it into a larger population that would provide the information that's going to support the registration of the product for use in human patient populations. So again, we're a little bit out of my strike zone in terms of what that process looks like for biomedical devices, but I think that the process is probably quite a bit shorter than what we typically see with pharmaceutical products.
All right. So there's a pulmonary rehab clinic near us, and I guess we have a resource there who said we could possibly test there. Would we need anyone's, I guess, permission other than the patient and the doctor to test this, or would we need some sort of FDA approval to test it before?
Yeah, again, just thinking that the process is probably very similar to that with drugs. You probably have to have FDA's awareness and concurrence on the testing process. Again, I can only speak from the pharmaceutical point of view, but most typically what happens is that with drugs anyway, you develop a body of data that suggests that a new product has a chance to work and it is likely to be safe. So you're not going to injure anybody in the course of doing the human clinical studies. Once you've got that body of data, then you submit that to the FDA as part of an overall project plan. Here's what I know about the safety and the efficacy of a drug. The FDA would then review the submitted material, and they have 30 days to respond to that submission. If they don't respond within 30 days, then by default you have their authorization to go forward with the planned clinical trial. So you would go through those planned clinical trials, and then as you're developing additional clinical data, the clinical trials are conducted in a series of phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And phase 1 is designed to establish the safety. Phase 2 is designed to establish initial efficacy in patients. And then phase 3 provides the statistical power that in large patient populations to address both the safety and efficacy and identify the specific dose level that can be marketed. Once you've completed phase 3 with drugs, then you submit what's called a new drug application. And that contains all of the documentation in people as well as animals, again, related to the efficacy and the safety of the drug now in a larger patient population. So the phase 3 clinical trial is really what's critical for the new drug application to be approved by the FDA. Once a drug is approved by FDA, then they issue an authorization to market the drug. Now, again, I don't know the device area well enough to know this, but I suspect that there's a very similar process, that you have to tell them that you're planning to do something, give them the background about the device itself, and then present a clinical trial that would show that the device is doing what you think it's doing.
Do you think it would be good to get a patent before or after you go through this?
Oh, absolutely before.
Okay.
You would want to have it protected before, have your intellectual property rights protected before really anybody starts to know about it. And that anybody or those anybody's would be doctors and patients and friends of doctors and patients and brothers and sisters of doctors. So once you start interacting with the public, you run the risk that your patent protection may not be in place, and somebody else either could scoop you, or you could find that by disclosing too much information, you've made it publicly available and you forfeit your patent rights. So you definitely want to pursue that process earlier rather than later.
After the FDA, is there another thing? There's another process that we need to go through, or anything else that we would need to do?
Well, you'd have to have the as part of your overall device development strategy. You would have to. You'd have to be able to demonstrate that the device reliably delivers the oxygen at the rate that you have told it to do. So if it's an automated system and you want to control oxygen in a specific range, you need to be able to document that the device does what you said it's going to do. And then by doing what it's supposed to do, you would need to document that the device does in people what it's supposed to do. In other words, it reliably delivers. If your pulse oximetry data shows that oxygen is going low, and that's going to trigger the device to increase the flow or the percentage of oxygen flow rate. I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but you have to demonstrate the device is doing its thing. But then by doing its thing, it's modifying the human blood oxygenation and controlling it in a way that